Hey guys, good evening. Hope you all are doing great. So I'm sure you've enjoyed this Thursday evening. Let's just quickly understand what we've done in our previous session yesterday. So we have talked about the smart objects and then channels. So in smart objects, we have understood how smart objects are different from layers. Those smart objects are a part of layers, but they function, in a very different manner. So we've seen a live example wherein we have tried to convert a particular image or particular layer into a smart object. Then we tried to compare that smart object with the layer. We've tried to decrease the size of both the layer and smart objects, in a parallel way simultaneously. And then we've again tried to increase the size of the smart object as well as the regular layer. The regular layer got pixelated, all the edges were pixelated, and the smart object, the edges and everything was like retained. So it was not pixelated, it was back into normal as if we have never resized it. But technically, yes, we have not resized it. It is only that we have hidden few layers, few pixels out there. But whereas in the layers, when we try to resize it, few pixels were all destroyed by Photoshop. And then when we tried to bring it back to the original shape, whatever pixels got destroyed, they are destroyed. Whatever pixels were remaining, they've got pixelated, and we have seen a really blurred image. And then we've tried to understand that smart objects are nothing but hyperlinks to that particular content layer. Then we have tried to apply some filters on the smart objects and regular layers, and then try to understand how simply we can play around with the filters. We can enable them, we can disable them. We have an option out there, but whereas in layers we don't have any option. Once you apply the filter, that means you have applied it forever. Only Control Alt Z or undo will help remove that particular filter or whatever effect you have given. Wherein in smart objects you can compare with filters and without filters. It is just a click away. You just have to press on the eye icon, and then you will be able to hide it, or you can unhide it, and you can see which one is good, and you can compare with filters and without filters in smart objects. Then we have moved down to channels. In channels, we have seen functionality of different colors, how they function. So we have seen different combinations. So basically, the computer uses RGB. It's red, green, and blue colors. Then we have tried to understand the combination of different colors, like how a particular image will look when all the reds and greens and blues are enabled. Then what if only red is disabled and green and blue are enabled? Then we have seen only green enabled and only blue enabled. We have seen different combinations, how they work, how they perform, which ones will get a brighter shade, which one will get a darker shade, or very bright stunning shade, which colors will be dull. We have seen every other combination, and we have understood how colors work. So we have seen different combinations of R's and G's and B's. So then we have, I think we have stopped it there with the channels. So then today, in today's session, we'll understand about the masks. And then we'll try to see an example under masks, see a live example. So let me just quickly open Photoshop for you. So I'm sure you remember that we have covered this mask. I mean, we have just touched the mask, and then we have come back in our previous courses, but we have not gone in depth in the mask section. So now we will just try to understand its features, and also the advantages. So only thing I'll have to do is just click on particular button which is there out here, and my mask will be applied to whichever layer is selected on the screen. So mask in itself, it doesn't really seem to do anything, but what it does is allow you to do or probably use black and white shades of gray to either hide or show the parts of that particular layer. All that you can do is use black and white or shades of gray to either hide or show. I'm sure you remember, black and white. So black for conceal, white for reveal, whatever. So you will just try to understand more about it now. Let me just open that picture again to you. Scroll down. So here is my picture. I'll again cut this particular picture using my lasso tool. The same process that we followed yesterday. I'm doing a Control J. And I'm going to my layer 1 out here. I'm going to my move tool just to move my particular layer out here. Now, I can actually get a black brush and then just try to paint away the part of my layer. Let me just go to my brushes. Select a brush. Black is already enabled out here as of my foreground color. Let me take a nice brush and let me just brush it out. Now just because my particular color is like black, so it is giving me a black color. It generally works like an eraser for me. Just give me a second out here. So sorry for the break. Yeah, so what I was telling is for any mask, so I've just put up a black brush and then I'm just trying to paint it out. Let me just try to open it again for you. So now I'll do the same procedure again. I'm just taking a brush out here. So this is my layer. So when I'm just trying to brush it out, So this basically performs like a regular eraser tool, wherein everything will be like concealed out here. So when it comes to mask, black conceals and basically white reveals. So this is the main reason for using masks. So the ability will be to go back and do adjustments anytime you really want to. And another beauty of what I can say is like beauty part of mask is I've just glossed over the fact that we used a brush to hide or show the particular layer, right? So whenever I just brush it out here, so my layer gets out with the black color paint. So now this means I can go into my brush panel and choose, of course, any brush preset I want to, and then just try it out. I can choose any brush preset and then just try to hide or reveal it. So we know that pure black and white can either hide or show a layer, right? So how about the shades of gray in between? So for that, we can actually use the gradient tool, which is here. So this is the gradient tool. So here, if you see on the options, it is from dark black or dark gray to white. So mask does only three things. It can put up black, it can give you a white shade, and it can give you a gray shade. So for the gray shade, you will have to go to the gradient tool. Here in this option, it is like, dark gray enabled out here at the left and white at the right. So now this is enabled. I can choose this particular thing. So it actually, puts up the layer out here. Let me just give you an example of how it actually works. Let me go here. Let me just delete this out. Let me again put up a lasso. I have deleted it by mistake, so I'll just roughly take this out. Say Control J, and I'll just apply a mask out here. I'll take a move tool and then I'll just move this out. So now, again, I'll go to my gradient tool. So I just forgot to click on the check mark out here. I'll just go to my gradient tool now. Before, I have not put up the mask. So now I have put up the mask by clicking on this particular icon out here. So when I click from top to bottom, so this is how I get my particular gradient. So I have an option to close this gradient as well. Saying OK. Saying Control Alt Z. So this is my image again. So I can either put up a black paint, or I can put up a white, or I can play around with the gray shades by using the gradient tool. So now we can actually fade this particular layer as well. So all that you will have to do is cut a particular part of an image, or probably if you can add 2 or 3 layers, so you can drag the particular gradient tool and half of your particular image will be grayed out. Okay, my key isn't working right now, so you might just want to go home and then open your Photoshop and try out this tool. I actually wanted to give you an example and show you, but I don't know, somehow it is not working for me. Probably once you just go home or open your Photoshop, just try out this tool. Just put up a background, put up a layer, just try to add a mask on that particular layer, and then try to put up a gradient tool. And when you put a gradient tool and when you drag and drop out here, when you just draw a line out here, half of the image will get faded and half of the image remains as it is, just because we have put up a gradient on that particular image. Okay, so what if I already have a mask set and I want to just flip it out? For an example, if I just draw a line out here, that means my upper portion will be in the dark gray shade and my lower portion will be in a light gray shade. That means the lower portion will get faded away. So what if I just want to, put up upper portion in a lighter shade and lower portion in darker shade? All that I will have to do is click on Control I. Control I will help me flip a particular image on the canvas. Not even this. If you really want to flip something out, you can just say Control I. Control I is a keyboard shortcut that flips the image upside down. I'm sure you remember all the shortcuts that we've been discussing in the class. Like Control I is for flipping, Control W is to close your particular window, Control S is of course for saving, Control J is will help you create a new layer. So I'm sure you're noting them down. So another thing right now, the position of mask is actually locked to the my balloon, right? So this is the mask and this is my layer. So both the things are like locked here. So if I when I select my layer and use my move tool, the fade and the balloon are linked together. So now right now when I apply my gradient tool out here, so this is my layer. When I apply a gradient tool, my gradient tool and my balloon are like combined with each other because it is locked here. So when I click here, the lock will be gone. So I can move my balloon aside and I can move my gradient another side. So this is the advantage. I can click on this particular link, small link between my layer and my mask, and I can remove the interlinking. I can remove the intersection of both the things. I can move my gradient to somewhere here to these balloons, and I can move my balloon to somewhere here. I can do that. If I click here again, so my link is again back. So mask can be actually copied just like layers. So all that we have to do is press and hold the Alt key and then click and hold my layer, and I can actually move this to any particular layer. For an example, I'll just say Control J. So here I can just delete layer mask. Again, I'm just pressing and holding an Alt key, and my particular mask has been copied to this layer. So all that I did is delete layer mask. So here right now layer mask is not there. But what if I want to put up a layer mask, the same layer mask that I have done for this layer? If I want to copy the same layer mask for this layer, I'll just have to press and hold an Alt key and then drag this particular mask to the upper layer, so it will be copied. So this is just an easy way to help you out. If I double click on this particular thing, I'll also have some display options, and if you have selected the gradient tool, if I double click on this particular layer, the gradient actually appears. Okay, so whatever gradient you have used or whatever color you have used, everything appears. So color anyways you cannot use, so it is only either gray, black or white that you can use. So when I double click here, so that particular gradient will appear. So to get back to my layer, so when I'm inside the gradient, so if I want to go back to my particular layer, I just have to press on this particular square box out here, and I'll get back to my layers panel. So finally, masks have their own options just like layers. So let me just pull up I don't have the mask option on my screen, so I'm just going to my Windows panel. I'm just bringing out the masks out here. So this is my mask options out here. So I can increase or decrease the density of my mask. So this controls the transparency of my mask. This density basically controls the transparency. So here 0% density means like having absolutely no effect. So for an example, if I put up some a gradient effect, so if I put this to 0%, that means I am giving it no effect, so nothing will happen. So if I'm putting it to 100%, that means the mask is like having full effect on that particular layer. So if you have put up a blur mask, that means if you are putting 100%, 100% of the image will be blurred. So that's what it means. And we also have this feather option in the bottom that will blur any edges of the mask, and that will of course result in fading. So density depends basically on the particular option that you have selected, and feather by default will blur your edges of your particular image, and that will help you in fading your image. So masks are definitely useful feature in enhancing the selections or giving us a room to play with our layers. So layers are different, of course, and masks, like we have seen the smart objects, right? So masks are the part of the particular layers. So with smart objects, we went over like how to preserve the size of the layer at any filters after they've been applied, right? So, and we have also seen how they link to your layer on a separate document that you can actually close or change it anytime. So we also went over some channels, of course, yesterday, like how they split up, into three colors that make up images on your screen. So we then went to our layer mask now. We have seen how to show the image and hide the images, use the gradients, and then move the copy the mask, etc. So now we will, in particular with an example, just try to understand how the mask works. So just go try to explore all the options that are there for your smart objects channels. There is nothing much you can do until and unless you are like real time digital painter. Just try out masks and smart objects. They are really interesting, and you can use it on your own images and try out some different shades. For now, I'm just closing this particular image of mine. So everything, all the data is lost right now. Just opening another example for you. Just closing this mask for now. I don't want that. So I'm just trying to put up some speed effect on my image. So I'm sure you have seen like different shades of a man running out here, and you can actually give the same effect to your text as well. If you can put up a nice text out here, and then you can give it a speed effect. So this effect, this shading effect, we call it a speed effect. So it looks as if the man is like moving from one place to another place in a very speed motion. So this is one of the basic examples that we give for masks. So let's just try it out and try to note down all the steps, and probably once you're home, just try to open Photoshop, put up your own picture that really gives you some encouragement, and then try to put up this effect and see how things work. Now I've opened a picture. So here is my background. So never ever try to unlock your background until and unless you are completely confident of what you are doing. But it's generally recommended to save your background or lock your background as it is. So I'm just doing that. I'm just locking my background. I'm not touching it. Rather, I'm just trying to duplicate my background. I can either right click and then click on duplicate layer, or I can simply drag. So this is my new layer, right? So I can simply drag out to the new layer, and it creates a copy of my background. Let me just try to rename it. Oh man. So I'll just rename the background right now. So I'm just hitting on this particular layer, and then I'm here. Now I just want to select only this particular man. I can do it in different ways possible. I can do a lasso tool. I can do with pen tool. I can do it with free pen tool, like free-handed pen tool. Yeah, freedom pen tool, of course. I can do this in any way possible, but for me, quick selection really works because that's really simple. So just going here, clicking on the quick selection tool. I'm sure you remember this tool. Quick selection is to quickly select something that is there in your image. So it's basically like artificial intelligence, I can say. You can select on your image, and this tool automatically selects the background and then you also have an option to increase the size of the selection, and you also have the option to decrease the size of selection. So on top, on the tool options, you remember these options, I'm sure. So here is a normal selection tool, here is a plus selection tool, and here is a minus selection tool. So add selection or plus selection will help me to drag my selections, and minus selection will help me to decrease my selections, unnecessary selections. So here in my cursor, I have this plus icon, right? So I'm just trying to click out here. So it just got selected. I'm trying to select his head, trying to select his hand, just trying to decrease my cursor a bit by pressing on the open bracket. Just trying to put up here, click here, try to select his leg, shoe, his right leg, of course. So his right shoe. Just try to click. It will select automatically. You don't have to worry about it. So that's the advantage of this particular tool, quick selection. So hence the name quick selection. So this is selected. So this is selected. His legs are selected. Just trying to select. His shoe is selected. This leg is selected. This leg, this hand is selected. There's a part of portion that has come out. For that, I'll just select my subtract selection tool, and then just try to click here. So it just got subtracted right now. See, it got subtracted. Now a portion of his head is like out. Again, I can select my plus tool and then select it out. So a small portion is out, but that's okay. I don't have any problem with that. So I'm sure this is done. So I have made the selection right now. So everything looks perfect. After the selection, now once I have made the selection, I will now add a mask to that particular selection. So I'm just clicking on add layer mask icon out here. So now I have added a mask to my particular background copy layer, which I have renamed it as man running. So you can see here a particular mask has been added. Now I'm just trying to hide the background and see if my selection has come out perfectly. Yes, of course, the selection has come out real perfect. So you can see this out here. So I'm just trying to hide the background and then see. So it has come out really well. So now with my background selected, let me just quickly unselect it and see everything is like perfect. Yeah, everything looks perfect. So I'm just hiding my background, and now I'll hit on Control J. Control J is of course for new layer, or I can either hit on Control J, or I can right click and say duplicate layer, or I can drag my background again here to make a copy. So now I have just copied my background layer, and then I'll just try to rename it again. Probably I'll say speed blur. So I've just renamed it as speed blur. So now I've just renamed this as speed blur because I want to put up a filter here to blur this particular image. So I'm just going to my options here on the top. These are called Photoshop options. I'm just going to filter. I'm sure you remember in yesterday's session when we are dealing with the smart objects, you have gone to this filter blur, and then yesterday we have used the Gaussian blur, and today we'll use the motion blur. So here when I select the motion blur, it gives me a window pop-up. I have like two options out here. It is asking me to select an angle. If I want to change the angle, let's say I'm just doing an image in this particular angle, this angle, 45 degrees angle, I can do that. But right now my image is straight, so I don't have to worry about the angle. So just try to understand the pixels. So just try to see how images are getting changed when I'm just trying to decrease the pixels, distance pixels. So for me, I just want my pixels to be 25. It's giving me a good blur shade out here, and at the same time the man is like kind of visible, so hence I'm using this distance as 25 pixels right now. I'm not going with angle, and preview is nothing but it will show how it is, how it will look in my original image. So I want preview to be there just to understand how my blur might look in the image. Some have enabled that. Generally, I don't think this is like checked when you open it for the first time. So make sure you check on the preview. This will help you to like understand how your image looks in your original background or original image. So like I said, the lesser the distance, it's always recommended to put your distance below 50, because you might just want to try out putting more, but just try to see how it looks. So it really looks as if we are rushing, so we just want some speed effect to be there in our photo. So it's better we put below 30, let's say 24 or 25, anything is like good. And now I'm just clicking on OK. Right now I have, for this particular layer, I have put up a filter which is called motion blur. So it is activated right now. Now I just wanted to understand, or probably I just want to move this particular blur beside my image to give that particular effect. So all that I will have to do is go to my move with my layer selected, with my blur effect selected. I'll just go to move tool, and then I'm just trying to move it a bit. So this was basically hidden previously. This was behind the particular my original image, and right now, so I've just moved it out, my blur option, and you can see the effect, right? So this is called a speed effect. So you can do the speed effect with just basic things that we have learned. One is using a filter effect, blur effect called motion blur, and second one is just by adding the mask. So this is it. So now we have created this out. So I'll just click on my first layer again, and then I will say Control J. I'm just trying to duplicate this layer, this mask. So here another layer also appears. So I'm just trying to duplicate it, right? So I'm just, it got appeared. Just give me a second out here, guys. So sorry. Now I'm just trying to rename this layer. Man, branding, blur. So I've just tried to take a copy of this particular layer, which is like added with a mask. I'm just trying to do this, and then just trying to right click on this particular image and apply. I'm just saying apply layer mask. So all that I have done here is like take a copy of this particular layer mask, and then I said apply the layer mask to that complete layer. I don't want it as like individual mask, but I want it to be a complete layer. So I've just right clicked on this particular mask out here, and then I just said apply mask to complete layer. So now it is like applied. So I'm just trying to rename this as fast. So this is fast right now. So I'm just trying to select this layer again. So this is like applied mask layer. So I'm just trying to select this layer again. I'm just going to my filter. I can either go from here like motion blur. I can do Control F, or I can again go here and then select the motion blur option. So it's the same again. So again, I'm not changing it anything. Distance we have put it as 24 pixels. So I'm just retaining it the same, just because we have put here the 24 pixels as distance, and then I'm saying OK. So now I can move this particular I'm just moving it a bit out here just to help you understand the difference between a mask which has got the blur option and just a layer which has got the blur option. So when I have put up a regular layer, I have done two things out here. If you like clearly are observing, so I've done two things out here. One is I have duplicated my background, and then I have tried to apply a filter called as motion blur. So the filter is now giving me an option wherein I can choose the colors as well. So all the show color is also appearing. So this particular layer, the speed blur layer, if you see, even the shoe color is like appearing, right? So if you really want your image to also have some color effects, you can directly select your layer and then give it a blur option, motion blur option, and then you can just move down a bit, behind him. Always remember, when you're giving a speed action or speed motion effect to your image, whatever effect you create, all that should be behind a particular person. When effects are behind a person, that means the person is like running forward. When you give effects behind in front of a person, that means that particular person is like moving backward. So if you want this particular person to look like as if he's like really running faster forward, always put your effects behind him. Okay. Now, for a regular layer with some blur effect, it is giving me this particular blur effect or this particular effect, running effect. For a layer with a mask to it, and then I've converted this mask into a complete layer, and then I've given this particular motion blur effect, and this is how I see the image. So there's a difference between the regular blur and the mask blur. So now I have got this effect, so you can choose between them. So whichever you like, you can keep them out. So now I have my layer selected. I'm just saying okay. So here now I've come here. So now all that you will have to do is do this Control J. So Control J, put up another layer. I'll go to Move Tool. My Move Tool is enabled. I'm just trying to drag it out a bit. Just try to find the angle. Make sure you're doing it perfectly. Again, I'll say Control J. I'm then trying to copy this particular layer. So my layer is copied again, and my Move Tool is enabled. I'm just trying to move him a bit out here. Just try to analyze all these and make sure that they come in an angle. So it should look basically realistic. So when you take a particular photograph, so you see all the small adjustments and colors, and every single detail you'll observe, right? So in the same way, when you're trying to edit a picture also, you try to see every single detail possible. So again, I'm saying Control J. I have my another layer out here. I'm just trying to move it out a bit. So it's giving me a running effect out here. So if you see, this was the layer that we have just used regular filter we have applied, and all these have come with some mask. So this is how you give a running effect to your particular original image. Okay, so probably you might just want to try out in your own photoshops, like put up your own picture, or try to take a picture from unsplash.com, take a royalty-free picture, and then try to work out. Make sure when you're working out something, if you're trying to practice something, it's okay if you take images from Google. But if you are trying out something and if you want to really post that again on internet like Facebook or your own Insta profiles or personal social profiles, make sure you pick out some royalty-free images, or what you can say is copyright-free images that will help you get some genuinity. Because if somebody puts a case on copyright, we really can't bear all of that. So it's better you take some royalty free images and then work out. So this is how basically you can use mask and give some effects to your particular picture. You can also give the same effect when you are using a text. So all that you will have to do is write a text, write up something out here, just put up a mask on it, try to duplicate it, then try to apply some motion speeding effects, and then just try to move it a bit. So this is how you can also give some speeding effects to your text as well. And probably in tomorrow's session we will try to understand how do we correct the photo. So we'll go over photo correction tool. So we are basically done with the workflow tool. So now we will try to enter into photo correction tools. This is all the sessions will be really interesting. So just try to be there on time and then try to understand. I'm sure you remember we tried to touch basics of photo correction tools. We tried to work out with spot healing tool, healing brush tool, red eye tool, patch tool. Like we try to heal a particular patch in a particular face, and then we try to remove the redness in the eyes when a flash falls on the lens, so that particular red eye appears. So we have tried to remove that, and then we have tried to fill some patches on a face. So if somebody's face is really not regular with the tone, we have seen how to put it as a pattern and then try to implement it. If you overdo it, again it really looks unrealistic. But we have seen how to minimalistically do and then cover all the patches using the patch tool. So here they are on the left of your toolbar in the second quadrant. You can see all these tools we have covered, right? So in tomorrow's session we will try to understand more photo correction tools. So if you have any doubts in today's session, please feel free to ask. Okay, thanks for your time, guys. In tomorrow's session, we'll connect over. Have a good day. Bye-bye.